Let me just say it's great to be here today. And to be following behind Leo. You know, I can say that along with Carl, who it's great to see, and with Dave Foster, there would be no Blue-Green Alliance without Leo. So Leo, I just want to thank you personally for your courage, for your conviction, for your vision, and for your leadership, and for blocking that stage years ago on behalf of bringing us together. You know, the vision that we had back in 2006 when the Steelworkers and the Sierra Club first came together was exactly the right one. And it was a very simple one. You could have put it on a note card, much less a single page. The vision is just that there's far more that unites us than is pulling us apart. There's far more that's bringing us together than is pulling us apart. But what we also know is that vision is more important than ever, particularly right now when we have a 1% that's doing all that it can to pull us apart. Our vision is that every American has the right to clean air, to clean water, to a stable climate, and the right to a good job that can support a family. Contrast that with their vision, which is to consolidate power, to consolidate wealth in the hands of a few, and use it to stifle our democracy and to muzzle voters' rights. Our vision is to build a movement that will bring people together from all across the country to solve the jobs crisis and to meet the climate challenge with literally millions of jobs and a clean energy economy. They're working for a world where people can't come together at all, where collective bargaining rights are destroyed and taken away, where our unions are just a memory, and where our rivers and our atmosphere and our parks and wilderness areas are plundered for the sake of a quarterly profit. I'd say that our values and our visions are pretty different, wouldn't you agree? So my question is, are you ready to fight back? Are you ready to fight back? Are you ready to stand together? All right, we are ready. So for the Sierra Club, we're putting our heart and our soul into this effort. We are very clear about the fact that sustainability isn't just about reducing emissions. It is equally about making sure that people and our communities thrive. It's about equity, it's about justice, and nowhere has this been more true than right here in Detroit. Under the leadership of Bob King, the United Auto Workers and the Sierra Club and BGA have been working to push for historic fuel efficiency standards that will raise fuel economy and cut carbon emissions and usher in a new wave of auto manufacturing here in the United States. Together, we have worked to double fuel efficiency standards in the United States and cut carbon emissions from cars and vehicles in half. With our BGA partners, we're looking forward to seeing the Obama administration finalize standards this summer that will save 12 billion barrels of oil, 12 billion barrels of oil, and cut 6 billion tons of carbon from the atmosphere. We know that UAW members and UAW members can lead the world in making the most fuel-efficient vehicles that will cut our oil consumption, and they can make these vehicles here in Detroit, in Ohio, in Indiana, in Missouri, and all across the country. And when we do so, what this will result in is cleaner cars, a cleaner atmosphere, and a healthier economy. But what we also know is that progress isn't confined to just cars. Even in the automotive sector, we're also working on new fuel efficiency standards for big trucks that'll cover a broad range of vehicles, from delivery trucks to tractor trailers. These more efficient trucks will save the average big rig driver $74,000 over the life of a vehicle, and will cut costs so that these costs can be met within a year or two after the vehicle is manufactured. Think about that. It's a win, 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 win situation. With one rule, with one standard, with one campaign that we're working together on, we'll cut carbon, we'll save jobs, we'll cut oil consumption, and we'll create unionized jobs right here in the Midwest. These standards, the good news is that these standards are already putting people back to work. Many of you have noticed, and I'm pleased to see, that Ford Motors has recently expanded its engine manufacturing plant in Cleveland, which will be adding 250 new jobs. What we're also seeing is that investments in advanced battery research and manufacturing will mean that the U.S. will have the capacity to build 40% of the advanced batteries here in the United States. Compare that to the fact that just a few years ago, the United States only had the capacity to build 2% back in 2009. We've gone from 2% in 2009 to almost 40% just 6 years later. And again, this results in more clean jobs, less oil consumption, less greenhouse gas emissions, and thousands of good American union jobs. Now, one of the reasons why I took the job to become the executive director of the Sierra Club a couple years ago is that the Sierra Club, at its core, stands for people and the planet. You heard Leo when he gave my introduction. He said that my mom is a recently retired public school teacher working out of New Jersey. She's a proud union member for her entire professional life. My father was part of the Carpenters Union. And I know that my job, my core job at the Sierra Club, is to make sure that we're advancing solutions that work for critters. We're advancing solutions that work for some of the most beautiful places where we like to hike and camp and hunt and fish. But our solutions have to work. Our solutions won't work unless they work for our friends and neighbors at the same time. The point that I want to make here, maybe it's the best way to make it is to talk about a local example, is that we believe that your zip code, where you live, should not determine whether or not you breathe clean air and you have the ability to drink clean water. Is Rhonda Anderson here yet? Rhonda, are you in the room? She is? All right. So let me talk about Rhonda. How many of you know who Rhonda Anderson is? A few of you. All right, so let me tell you her story. So Rhonda has been working here for years on behalf of the Sierra Club and working with local community members who are living in zip code 48217. On October 1st in 2010, Rhonda got a call. She went to a press conference on the corner of, I'm not sure how you pronounce this, Leibold and Pleasant Avenues. Another press conference on another day in October of 2010. She got there and she had an experience that she tells me she will never, ever forget. She walks to this press conference, which is outside on the corner, and she could barely breathe. There was this putrefying stench coming from the pipes underneath all of the buildings in this part of the town, coming from underneath all the streets in this part of town. After the press conference, she went into a couple of the houses nearby. The stench coming from these pipes was so powerful, it was literally changing the color of the paint on the walls. There was this growth coming that was coming from these gases that were coming from these pipes underneath these buildings that was changing the color of the furniture. This yellow, greenish growth you'd find in all the furniture in these people's houses. Rhonda, can you stand up for a second, Rhonda? All right, so Rhonda is a fierce, powerful woman, right? She could barely, yeah. So Rhonda could barely stay inside this house for more than just a few minutes. She walks outside, she's walking down the street, she sees 3 little kids playing outside of one family's house. She looks inside the window and she sees a young mother nursing a newborn infant. If Rhonda can barely stay inside one of these houses because of the gases that are emanating from it. Think about the impact on that mother. Think about the impact on that young child. What would you do if that was your house? What would you do if that was your baby? You'd organize, right? And you'd fight, because that's what you do. So that's what Rhonda did on behalf of the Sierra Club. That's what all the members of this community did. That's what we did with Global Community Monitor in the neighborhood, as they went from house to house to house to house. And then they began taking samples using these sealed 5-gallon buckets. They called it a bucket brigade. People are doing this all across the country, taking samples to document what exactly can be found in this house. They took those samples. They found 20 poisonous gases emanating from these pipes. They took it to their state legislature. They took it to members of Congress. And most importantly, they took it to Marathon Oil Company, who operates the local refinery. And they demanded justice. And so what happened is that they held Marathon accountable, and Marathon now has agreed to purchase up to 420 of these homes, acknowledging the impact of their pollution. So this is what we do when we work together. In the Sierra Club, we stand ready to fight for environmental and economic justice everywhere, and we stand ready to fight and stand with our brothers and sisters to make sure that workers have the ability to bargain for better wages, they have the ability to bargain for better benefits, and for worker safety laws. We also understand that a green job doesn't guarantee a good job, and we believe that the green economy must be a unionized economy. Just a couple last quick thoughts is that we are standing with workers who are working to embed collective bargaining rights into the state constitution here in Michigan. If you live here in Michigan, you know far better than I do that the Protect Our Jobs campaign has been a bulwark that has been fighting against an assault on labor in the state for more than a year now. So the Michigan State Sierra Club and all of our partners are working hard to make sure that we can not just protect labor rights, but enhance labor rights into the future. We don't want to just be playing defense again and again. We want to get on the offense and make sure that 5 years from now our rights are strengthened, not being slowly ebbed and taken away. We're also working on a ballot initiative, the 25 by 25 initiative, which here in the state of Michigan will make sure that every year we're bringing on more clean energy, and we're using it to build, here in the Midwest, ground zero for the clean energy revolution, to make sure that years from now our air is cleaner, our emissions are decreasing, and more jobs are coming into the state. And we're doing all of this work together, because at the end of the day, I'm convinced that we will all lose if we don't stand together. We will win when we do. Nobody wins unless everybody wins. We have to create deep and lasting alliances where your issue is my issue and my issue is yours. Where we can unite even if we don't agree on everything. Where we can unite especially when we don't agree on anything. Everything. If we can unite when we don't agree on anything, then we're really doing well. But we can do this, we know we can unite despite differences because we do share a common vision, we do share common values, and most importantly, when times get tough, we've got each other's back. We know that change never comes easy, it never comes easy, and we know that especially now, we're up against very powerful forces. Their strategy is to divide us. Their strategy is to divide us. Their core strategy is to make sure that we're not standing together. So will we let them? No. Can we stand together? Yes. Will you leave today, will you leave this conference in a couple days going to work to build the movement and stand up against the 1%? Yes. Right, of course you will. Thank you everybody for all that you're doing, and thanks for coming here.